All right, guys. Today I'm going to be reacting to like one of the number one skeptics on YouTube concerning homeopathy. If you type in homeopathy, this video comes up. It's called Homeopathy, the second most ridiculous pseudoscience. And so let's react to it, People are watching this video, so why not comment on it? Hopefully someone might find this one as well, right? So you never know. So it's going to be a vicious, foaming at the mouth attack on homeopathy without any evidence and just being a fake skeptic, a religious materialist, etc. It's the same old story. It's the usual story. And so let's just get into it, I guess.
It doesn't come up often per se, but in the past few months, I have mentioned homeopathy a couple of times. Each time mentioning that it is an absolute pseudoscience, but not really having the time to go into the details on it. And a few of you have written asking me if I could do a whole video on the topic. I've put it off because there's never been a kind of newsworthy hook. Homeopathy just isn't that popular these days. But I'm actually researching another video that'll be coming out shortly. And homeopathy comes up again. And so I thought, wouldn't it be nice if in that video I can say, hey, if you want to know more about this, go watch this video I just made on the topic. So here I am. Let's talk about homeopathy. When I was in 21, 22 or so, I was this grungy little hippie living in Seattle in affordable housing, didn't have a good job. Obviously, I didn't have health insurance. And so, obviously, when I developed a health problem, I couldn't afford to go see a doctor. So instead, I visited my neighborhood herbalist, naturopath, because, that's the sort of thing we had back then in grungy Seattle of the early 2000s. And this naturopath gave me homeopathy, and I took it and nothing happened. It did.
Okay. Do you think that's a valid scientific experiment? Do you think that is the proper way to not just scientifically test something, but test something in general, right? Something that deals with as a complicated a topic as a subject as your health or medicine. Do you think that is a proper way to test something? Taking it and then if you can't feel anything, just moving on with your life and then forgetting about it forever. No, I'll tell you right now, it's not a proper way to do it. You have to at least try to get to know what you're dealing with a little bit, read up on homeopathy a little bit at least, like the basics of the philosophy, the basics of the mechanisms, anything, So this is not, it's not that it's not even science, it's not even anything. So this is just nothing.
Didn't fix anything. And I just blamed myself because I figured I probably just didn't explain the problem clearly enough because this is medicine, right? That a doctor gave me, right? It probably usually works. And it wasn't until a few years later that I learned that alternative medicine is what they call medicine that doesn't work. And also, I learned that there's a difference between naturopathic and homeopathic. I thought homeopathic just meant the same thing, all natural ingredients. But no,
Right. You didn't know anything about it, right? You basically didn't know anything about it. And then you're making blanket statements like alternative medicine is medicine that doesn't work when you don't actually know anything about it. Just unbelievable, 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 guys.
Naturopathic does refer to a broader array of treatments, which range from a bit dodgy to full on bullshit. Homeopathy can fall under naturopathy, but naturopathy also includes things like herbs and vitamins and dietary changes and massage. All of that stuff kind of falls under naturopathy. Homeopathy, meanwhile, is its own animal. The main difference is that homeopathy contains absolutely zero active ingredients at all. When you take homeopathy, you are just taking a sugar pill or water or alcohol or whatever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous if you say this out loud and then stop talking, right? You say that there's nothing in it, and then you just walk away, and then continue your wonderful skeptic life, your belief in mainstream science, so-called science, and then just leave it at that, right? Why not look into it a little bit further? Because then you wouldn't be able to just disregard any kind of you wouldn't be able to disregard the effects. You wouldn't be able to disregard everything about it if you just looked into it a little further.
Not a single molecule of a vitamin or a pain reliever or anything is inside the treatment. This is what makes homeopathy, in my opinion, the second most ridiculous alternative.
Why not look into it a little bit? Just a little bit. Everybody knows that there's no uh, chemically active substances in homeopathic remedies. Everybody knows that. So just stop harping on that. Stop doubling down on that. And can you go? Just can you go any bit further than that? Just look into it.
Alternative medicine modality of all time. The first, if you're wondering, is therapeutic touch, in which no one touches anyone, and instead a nurse or someone who dropped out of nursing school waves their hands over your body and then says that they cured you with powers.
What the hell are you talking about? This has nothing to do with homeopathy, right? So you mentioned the lack of chemically active substances, and now you're moving on to laying on hands and stuff like that, which actually could work, in my opinion. I'm actually not against that.
But
Okay.
homeopathy is a close second. And to explain why,
Oh,
I will simply tell you the honest truth about what homeopaths themselves say. It's important to remember I am not making any of this up. This is actually what they believe. Homeopathy is based on two essential truths. First is that like cures like. A medicine works
oh my God, that is crazy. These homeopaths are psychotic. How could they ever say that? Like cures like? Oh my goodness.
when it causes the symptoms that the patient is currently experiencing. This is the origin of the word homeopathy. It's a combination of the Greek words for like and suffering. This means that, for instance, if you have an annoying itch, you should consume something that causes itching in a healthy person, like poison ivy. If you have cancer, maybe some x rays would help. If you have a
It's much, much, much more complicated than that. So that is the middle school definition of homeopathy. That is the homeopathy for dummies, dumbed down for people, for dumb people. We give this definition, or it's floating around. This definition is floating around for absolute retarded people. So that's your definition. So why not look into how homeopathic provings work, right? That is not how homeopathy works. We don't give poison ivy to everyone who has an itch. Okay, so this is a straw man. You're attacking something which homeopathy is not.
migraine, maybe try a falling anvil, etc. This idea was thought up by Samuel Hahnemann in 1796 after he heard a rumor that a particular kind of bark could cure malaria. He did not have malaria, but he ate some of the bark to see what would happen. And he found that he started to experience the same effects that malaria patients experience: a high fever, uncontrollable shivers, joint pain. Thus, he decided like cures like. This is a really great example of the difference between medicine and alternative medicine, in that the alternative medicine guy stopped after one anecdotal data point and built an entire industry on it, while the real medicine guys went on to figure out that the tree bark contained quinine, which is toxic to the parasitic.
It was much more complicated than that. So again, you're attacking a straw man. The proving of China was much more complicated than that. It's not one data point. He was experimenting with many substances and looking at uh, many characteristics, many instances of poisonings, and not just poisonings, because we don't just use the poisonings. It's very complicated. So again, a straw man.
Parasite that causes malaria, but delicious when paired with a good gin. So that's the first rule of homeopathy: like cures like. Hahnemann quickly realized that this first rule, while it made perfect sense, wasn't going to be enough because, I mean, obviously, just think about it. If you drop an anvil on the head of someone with a migraine, that's probably only going to make their head hurt worse. So instead, maybe diluting the treatment would work. Maybe a very tiny anvil would work better than the big anvil. And, if dilution makes the treatment better, then it stands to reason that diluting something even more makes the treatment even better. And if you carry that to its natural conclusion, the strongest possible dilution must be one far beyond the point where a single molecule of the treatment remains. In our migraine example, maybe we would reach the point where we simply draw a picture of an anvil on a Post-it note and stick it to the head of the person with the migraine. Now,
Um, we don't do that. No, we do not do that. There is a mechanical, mechanistic, physical action you have to perform. You have to keep dynamizing homeopathic solutions. So succussing and diluting, serial succussing and diluting. So it's much more complicated than that. We never draw pictures. So again, more strawmans, and so this is just what we expected, right? So um, really dumb so-called skeptics, and they're strawmen. So this is the same with every other topic, not just homeopathy. The fake skeptics attack everything without a lack of knowledge, and of course, we suspect that it's not an accident that they don't have a lack of knowledge. This is a well, this is a targeted attack, right? It's a purposeful attack, so it's not an accident. These people are paid by the controllers, obviously, so who are right now forcing this worldview on the world.
hold on, Rebecca. I hear you saying, surely you're being hyperbolic. Surely they don't actually dilute things down.
And this is why I believe that homeopathy is not gonna move into like a golden age, and then the third millennium will be all homeopathy, because these are not organic processes. The world is controlled from the top down, and it's being suppressed, and everybody's listening to these numpties. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse, and so I don't agree with the homeopaths who say that homeopathy is going to spread all over the world to every household just because it works so well. It's not. So there's a targeted attack, there's a narrative being forced on the world, obviously, and these people are the agents. Um, that do that, the hatchet men or women in this case.
To the point where not a single molecule remains, and I'm sorry to inform you that they do. Hahnemann used the C scale to measure dilutions, with C representing 100. So a 1C dilution is one part of the
Oh my God, you actually looked into homeopathy. Wow. That's impressive. You remembered, you could actually memorize a number, right? See and the letter C. That's pretty good. You did a lot of research there.
original substance diluted in 100 parts of water or alcohol. 1% of the substance would then remain. The scale increases logarithmically, so a 2C dilution isn't 1 in 200, it's actually one part of the original substance in 10,000 parts of the solution, meaning 0.01% of the original substance would remain at 2C. 12C is the highest dilution in which a single molecule of the original substance is likely to still exist
Okay, so what's your point? We already established that there's no chemically active substance left in the dilution. So what?
in the formula. Mathematicians accurately describe
So you're harping on the same thing again and again.
12C as a pinch of salt in both the North and South Atlantic Oceans. 13C would be less than a drop of the original substance diluted in all of the water on Earth. Hahnemann advocated for treatments to be diluted at least to 30C, which is 1 in 10 to the 60th power. A quick search of currently sold homeopathic products online, you can see that they commonly go from 30C all the way up to 200. Okay, Rebecca, you're saying now,
Well, it goes up to 50,000, 100,000. So you didn't really do your research very well. Okay, so just look into it a little bit more.
you weren't exaggerating about that part, but it was really unkind to make that joke about drawing an anvil on a post it note and sticking it on a patient's head. You're really poisoning the well with a tiny diluted drop of poison with that ridiculous example.
Oh, that's so funny. So funny.
Hold on to your hats, guys. In June of the year 2000, the New Zealand Homeopathic Society released their quarterly newsletter with an editorial criticizing fellow homeopaths who were giving out paper treatments. If you run out of a proper homeopathic remedy, you can write its name and potency on a piece
Yeah. Yeah. You found the vulnerability in the homeopathic community, right? There are some crazy homeopaths who do that, but a lot of us um, distance ourselves from that, right? So there's a proper scientific classical homeopathy and published in medical journals and stuff like that. And you're not going after that, right? You're going after the crazies, the nut jobs, who do the paper remedies, which are, of course, writing it on a piece of paper. Obviously, that doesn't work. Obviously, those people are crazy, but it is kind of like a straw man because proper homeopathy doesn't do that. Okay, right? Read the Organon, read all the literature. We don't do that.
piece of paper and put it in a pocket or pin it on the left side of the patient's chest. Be careful not to write down too high a potency, it warned. But my laughter died when I read on and found this practice was promoted by a person describing herself as a classical homeopath and was all dead serious. Even more scary were numerous reports
He wasn't one, so he wasn't classical homeopath, right? This, as I just said.
from people claiming to have tried such paper remedies as excess fat, 30C to lose weight, insufficient funds, 30C to boost real estate sales, computer working 200C for a hard drive problem, car start 30C.
Okay, so we didn't see any kind of evidence. We didn't hear an argument against proper classical scientific homeopathy, just strawmans and attacking a fake version of homeopathy. And so that wasn't very impressive, right? Guys, this is it for today. And please like and subscribe. So you can find the thumbs up and the subscribe. And on Odyssey, you can there's like the fire little flame button, and also you can get in touch for treatment if you would like that. If you're interested in getting treatment from me, just shoot me a telegram or a signal.